Good evening, Piedmont University Athletics on YouTube. This is Simon Johnstone coming to you live inside of Cave Arena with Chris Doncereau and Reed Barnes on the camera here tonight, where we have a very exciting matchup. Your Piedmont Lions are taking on the Maryville Scots. The Scots, who are currently leading the CCS in both overall record and conference record at 6-1. Also coming off of a 6-game winning streak. The Lions facing an uphill battle, looking to turn their CCS conference play around as they're coming into this matchup on a 5-game losing skid. All of those coming from former CCS members and currently sitting 9-9 overall in their matchup. Chris, great to have you here tonight. Super excited to get into this action. What are your thoughts?
Great to be here. I got a lot of thoughts in my head right now, man. And, Piedmont, having lost 5 games straight and Maryville coming in on a 6-game win streak, I just think, and actually, matter of fact, I actually heard this wild stat just now from one of our SIDs here at Piedmont University, and he told me that teams shoot really well here. Everybody who plays Piedmont shoots around 35% from 3 when they play Piedmont, which is not a great stat if you're Piedmont. You kind of want to limit the 3-ball and force them into the paint.
Yeah, absolutely right. And speaking of good shooting, we'll get into some really impressive stats about the Lions quickly. But before we do that, Maryville wins the tip. We'll get you the starting lineups for them first. Number 13, Chase Morgan. Number 14, Colin Smith. Number 1, who has the ball now, Reed Kemp. Number 3, Jackson Gardner. And number 11, Darryl Rice. And Chris, if you want to give us the lineup for Piedmont.
The Piedmont University going with their normal lineup again tonight. Number 1, Joe Hellenbrook. Number 4, Noah Reardon. Number 5, Ryan Jolly. Number 30, Fisher Darden. Number 31, Devin Dean.
Both teams a little slow to start, missing their first field goals each. Scots have it now. Stolen by Hellenbrook. Bit of a drop pass there by Chase Morgan, who's going to turn it on over. Lions get the ball and draw an early foul here. Decent start, but like as you were saying, it's really incredible how well these teams shoot inside of Cave Arena. The Lions themselves are a great shooting team. They're leading the CCS actually in points per game at 88, field goal percentage at 46, and three-point percentage at 39. So they are a very efficient shooting team, as Devin Dean drove in aggressively, wasn't able to draw the foul. I think he was looking to get to the line, but no call by the referees. Piedmont does retain possession here with Reardon looking to inbound. Finds Dean on the corner, right out to Reardon. Reardon going to dump it on inside to Darden. Darden looks to lay it in and appears to be shoved from behind. Darden's going to head to the line to shoot his first free throws of the night. Just 50 seconds in, and we already have 2 fouls against the Scots. Way too early to be concerned about foul trouble, but never a good sign when you're less than a minute in. I've already got 2 on your side. Darden going to hit the first one. With him alongside many of his teammates, a very good free throw shooter. He actually leads the team in free throw percentage with 93% made of that many attempts. So always a pleasure to have him at the line. Him and Ryan Jolly just so efficient from that spot. Scott's now with it. Grant's going to have it. He's going to lose it now. Reardon with the steal. Lions come the other way. Jolly picks it up on the wing. Fake screen by Reardon. Jolly still with it on top of key. Swings it out to Reardon on the wing, who's going to dump it to Darden. Darden. And it looks like a little too much space created there by a Reardon screen is going to call for an illegal screen. Not a call you see very often, Chris, especially against Piedmont.
Yeah, no, you don't really see that call too often. Not from a guard specifically. You usually see it from more of a big man.
Kemp with it's going to dump it out to the corner for Smith, who's going to miss the 3-point shot. And a rebound contest there, and Smith's actually going to get another foul knocked onto him. Piedmont, some good and tough defense to start off this contest. That's what they're going to need to do, as you mentioned in the pregame. Shooters love it here. They love being inside Cave Arena, so contesting and shutting down as many second chance opportunities as possible is going to be crucial for the Lions. Back-to-back possessions for the Lions result in illegal screens. This one on Devin Dean. Incredible start there, and looks to be some sort of disagreement with the refs. Not exactly sure what it is, but Piedmont, their 2 fouls early on, both on illegal screens. That is shocking, if you will. Maryville going to come the other way. Rice has it. Screen set up by Garner. Another loose ball created, and Hellenbrook did dive for it, try and keep it in play, but not to be. Scots will retain possession here. Maryville looked opposite side. Jolly went for the contest, but does connect with, I believe that's Reed Kemp, who is going to get the N1 opportunity here for the Scots. Just the first made basket in about 2 minutes of play here for Maryville. Looking to convert it into a three-point play. Free throw good. Maryville jumps ahead early. Man press here. Stepped up by Darryl Rice onto Jolly. Jolly does get it across. Reardon going to dump inside to Dean. Dean loves the mid-range and likes to drive inside if given the opportunity. Darden now picked up heavily by Kemp. Darden now gets through one. Sure pulled down underneath him, and Maryville's going to come the other way. Down the left side is Gardner. Gardner picked up by multiple. Morgan swings it on out to Kemp, and Kemp from the corner drops it in. Chris, you and I were talking at the start of this matchup before we went on air, and we said the Lions have had a lot of close contests, especially in their conference play, and just lost by a few points in a couple of them. Jolly's three going to hit the top of the wire, and it's going to be a turnover, if you will. And like we were saying, it's not that they're losing or getting blown out by these teams. It's that they just happen to start slow. It seems to be their mantra. So what are some keys you believe that the Lions need to focus on to get off to a better start here tonight?
Honestly, watching these games and, especially here at Cave Arena, I just think Piedmont has to get the team involved early. Obviously, Ryan Jolly is your go-to guy. When you want a bucket to be made, if you want him to go get a bucket, he's going to go get a bucket for you. But for Jolly, I need him to be more of a facilitator tonight and not try to be a pure scorer. So that means getting Noah Reardon involved, getting Joe Hellenbrook involved, getting Fisher Darden involved. Devin Dean, even in the mid-range, as you mentioned, he loves the mid-range game. So getting those guys involved early will be better towards the end of the game.
Spread the love, if you will, is definitely the name of the game. Jolly is a formidable scorer. Multiple-time CCS Player of the Week. He does lead the team with 22 points per game and also happens to lead the team with just 6 assists. So not as much ball movement as you'd love to see for Piedmont. And if you hadn't caught it, it was a travel called against Piedmont. So yet another turnover for the Lions. Rice has it now. Rice going for a mid-range, contested by Reardon. Little heavy there, and it's going to drop deep. Hellenbrook dives to the ground to keep it alive and is able to get it to Jolly. Jolly now trying to push the tempo. Gives it to Hellenbrook, who's going to try his range from three and knocks it down at the top. Hellenbrook, also a respectable three-point shooter. He can knock them down when given the opportunity right now, shooting 32% from beyond the arc. Kemp at the top. Dean read the pass easily, and Dean's going to pump fake. Kemp one-on-one against Rice. Dean able to lay it in as Rice went for the steal. Lions jump back ahead. 7-6 is your score. 4 minutes into action. Reardon's fired up on the defensive end. Cave Arena starting to come alive. We've seen that a lot recently with those stands filling up here tonight. Dean, great contest, is going to get a block. But unfortunately, Scots were able to grab their own board. That's going to be R.J. Simmons on the catch and second try. He did sub in a little bit earlier for Morgan. We also have additional new player on for the Scots. Is Hellenbrook, crafty ball handling and able to finish the layup. Number 35, Keith Williams, also in for the Scots. Rice now going to take the screen from Williams. Little hop step, trying to be shifty. Dumps it off to Hellenbrook. This is an interesting matchup. Hellenbrook's got his work cut out for him here tonight if he's going to be down in the post. Reardon, though, going to go from beyond the arc here. Three-pointer a little short. Rebound Scots. Kemp going to give it to Rice. Seeming to love this Reardon-Rice matchup are the Scots. Rice couple between the legs moves, and no, Reardon able to draw the offensive foul. A little too aggressive by Rice. Did it appear to be a drop shoulder, Chris? Not exactly sure what the nature was, but
yeah, he definitely looked like he pushed off with that left arm a little bit and dropped the shoulder just a tad bit. So great call there by the ref.
And with that, not only do we have our first time out of the game, but also our first media with our under 16. So we're going to have a minute break here. Chris, any thoughts of how this game is going? It feels like the Lions are being the more aggressive team to start off.
Yeah, and you love to see that from Piedmont. You know, when they're the more aggressive team, even at the start of the game, I think they play well like that. I think they play way better, you know, under those circumstances, excuse me. So with that being said, I love the way that Piedmont is coming out here. I love the way that everybody's getting involved. As I mentioned, Ryan Jolly has only took one shot. He hasn't scored. We all know that's going to change, but I feel like Ryan Jolly has to be the catalyst for this team to be successful.
Yeah, 100% right there. When we see the Lions, multiple players step up, they start to break that double digits early. Then Jolly has the freedom to start opening up his offensive brigade. That's when the Lions are at their best. And we're starting to see that early on here tonight. Lions leading 8-7. It's over 15 minutes left in the first half, so still a lot of time here for the Lions to increase this lead. But the way it's felt, once the Lions go into the break up, it's very hard for teams to come back against them. Usually they're the teams having to fight back. Scott's going to bring in 2 more new players here. Javi Roselle is one of them, number 10. Additionally, number 21, Logan Patterson, in for the Scots. For the Lions, a couple new players as well. Caleb Blesh in, as well as Griffin Neville. Jolly looks into Neville, who's going to dump it off to Dean. Dean picked up by 2, slips through like a snake. Does miss the layup. Able to get the offensive board, though. Swing it out to Lesh, who loves it from beyond the arc. Just a little deep there. Second offensive board for Dean in this possession. Lions able to take a breath here. Jolly blows by Javi and able to get the and one with the left-handed lay. Beautiful and crafty move there, and that's all spark plugged by Devin Dean. Talked about good free throw shooters for the Lions. None better, if you will, than Ryan Jolly, who's so consistent. One of the only members in the 50-40-90 club a couple weeks ago, and I believe he's still in that membership. Of course, that's 50% from the field, 40 from beyond the arc, and 90% from the line. Jolly was able to convert his and one and make it a 3-point play. Simmons now picked up by Neville. Height disparity is definitely present. Dean on the help side, and Reardon able to shut down the much taller player in Keith Williams. We know how stouty Noah Reardon is on the defensive end, and right there showing he can get inside with the big boys. Jolly going to bring it the other way now. Picked up by Garner. Reardon now on Russell. Neville, little pump fake, dump it off to Jolly. Jolly top of the key. Neville thought about a 3-point on the wing, not to be. Reardon, though, is going to take his shot and knock down. 1, 2, 3. Thank you for Noah Reardon. One of the best two-way players in the CCS, the senior Noah Reardon for the Lions. Neville going to pick up Simmons on the corner here. Dumped off. Simmons gives it off to Chase Morgan, not the bank. And Simmons is going to go just over Neville and draw the foul, able to knock down the free throw as well. The third and one attempt we've seen, Chris. It's been a physical brand of basketball, but almost seems to kick it up even more if you want to shut down these and one chances.
Yeah, and you got to love the way Piedmont's playing. Even though, they're getting the and one calls, they're getting the foul calls, you got to love the way that they're playing. Obviously, losing to this team 2 games ago on Piedmont's schedule, you got to think they came in here with a vengeance. As in, they want to win this game, and they have to win this game, especially for our CCS standings.
Yeah, as you mentioned, just 2 games ago for the Lions was their last matchup against Maryville at the Scots Stadium, and they did fall by just 2 points. So we know the Lions are capable of taking down this squad, as the Lions are ahead 13-10 midway through the first half. Make that 16-10 as Caleb Lesh from the corner knocks down a tray ball. Rice back in for the Scots is going to bring it up here. Going to dump it off to Patterson, who gives it to Kemp. Simmons now on the wing, swings it out to Morgan. Morgan back to Patterson. Good ball movement by the Scots. Tried to sneak inside. Griffin Neville for the steal, but overplayed a little bit too much, and Simmons had the easy lay. Jolly has it once again for the Lions. As you were saying, Chris, he seems to be facilitating a lot more than we've seen recently. Good drop back pass to Neville. His 3-pointer, unfortunately, a little right there. Scots come the other way. Rice has it now. Picked up by Reardon. Simmons on the wing. Picked up by Neville. Gives it back to Rice, who looks inside to Morgan. Picked up on a double team is Reardon and Dean. Jolly going to see the passing lane. Unfortunately, couldn't get a hold on the ball. Scots keep the possession. Kemp now. 10 seconds left. Puts it up. No good. And Dean goes down hard to try and keep that ball alive. And we're going to see a stoppage of play. Dean hit the deck hard on that move. Seemed to be an arm tangled with one of the Scots. Glad to see he's already up and walking around. Likely take a breather here for a second, get all checked out by our lovely training staff here at Piedmont. A few more substitutions as well for the Lions. You got Darden checking back in, Hellenbrook as well, and Jeremiah Carter-Johnson making his first appearance in tonight's matchup. Chris, we've seen Hellenbrook and Carter-Johnson run together as a duo a lot recently. Are you a fan of almost a two-center formation for the Lions?
Honestly, yeah, I am. I think with Hellenbrook's ability to spread the floor and stretch the floor and shoot the three ball, I think it allows Carter-Johnson more of an inside game and to be the actual big on the floor for Piedmont.
Yeah, absolutely right. It gives Hellenbrook a little more freedom to get crafty and creative with the ball, not only at his feet but cutting as well. Very unique entanglement there. Carter-Johnson wasn't able to hold on to the board, but Lions are able to retain the possession, I believe, off of a jump ball. And we're going to head into our second media timeout here. We're going to take a break with them, just a minute of airtime here. We'll be stepping away. You're listening to Piedmont University Athletics on YouTube. Welcome back to Piedmont University Athletics on YouTube. Simon Johnstone here with Chris Tonsero as well as Reed Barnes on the camera here tonight. The Lions are off to a better start than we've seen in the first half from them early on in the season. They lead the Scots 16-12 with over 11 minutes left to play as the Lions take it out of the media break here. Jolly going to take the mid-range shot. Carter-Johnson able to keep it alive with a tip out to Jolly, and Darden now gets the dump off from Jolly. Hellenbrook on the corner. Going to get hit by Morgan, able to keep it in play, and after a couple hop, skip, and jumps, we find Lesh in the corner. Three-pointer no good. Jolly now able to retain the ball for the second offensive board. We've seen many offensive rebounds for the Lions here. Carter-Johnson tried to bait the foul, not to be. Here come the Scots the other way. Morgan, not the smallest player on the court, but seems to be one of the more agile. I'd say that until the commentator's curse kicks in, and we're going to see a travel call there on Chase Morgan. For the Lions, same five you saw before we went into that media break with Les Jolly, Darden, Carter-Johnson, and Hellenbrook. And for the Scots, on Jolly right now is Kemp. Then you have Rice, Simmons, as well as Garner, out there for the Scots. Lions able to knock down a three-pointer on the other end. Kemp looked to answer for the Scots, but nothing but net. Unfortunately, didn't go through the rim to get that title. Well, it's going to be, as Cave Arena calling it, an air ball. Lions up 7 with just 10.5 left in the first half of action here inside Cave Arena. Caleb Lesh now, top of the key, going to give it off to Darden on the corner. Swings it over to Carter-Johnson, who's going to test his luck from three, and why not? We've been saying it all night. People love to shoot inside Cave Arena. Carter-Johnson says, I like that too. Able to knock down a three-pointer. Darden picks up Rice down low. Lesh goes for the steal attempt. No dice, and Garner able to hit the three. Maryville able to answer the last three-pointer. They still trail by 7. Lions lead 22-15 as we hit the under 10 minutes of the first half action. Pocket nearly picked by Kemp. Kemp tried to dive to get the turnover. Now we have a switch with Simmons on Jolly. And another pocket picked as Simmons was able to steal it from Fisher Darden. Kemp gives it off. And back to Kemp it is. Now Garner drives inside, tried to find Simmons, and it appears to be a miscommunication. Chris, I don't know about you. Obviously, we haven't seen a lot of Maryville Scott games, but this doesn't feel like the CCS leading team right now.
Yeah, no, they're playing very sloppy basketball here. Already 6 turnovers. I mean, Piedmont has 5, but already 6 turnovers from Maryville. Already 5 personal fouls, and they're not hitting as many shots as we thought they would be hitting right now. And I just think Piedmont has their number as of now. Maybe they'll turn it around. Maybe they won't.
Maybe this is the sting in the tail, the kick in the pants they needed to get their CCS conference play turned around. Jolly going to turn that one over. Simmons comes the other way. Garner now swings it over to Rice, who's picked up by Darden. Just an interesting matchup there. Carter Johnson on Simmons, and Hellenbrook gets swarmed in the paint and still finds an avenue to lay it on inside. Lead drops to 5 for the Lions, 22-17. Reardon back in the game. Came in for Lesh, I believe. Hellenbrook now on the corner, going to give it off to Jolly. Right at the free throw line, gives it to Reardon, beyond the arc. Picked up by Garner. Now in the corner, back to the mid-range, gives it off to Darden. Over to Hellenbrook in the corner, he says, I'm going to go for 2, not to be, but Carter Johnson on the other end. Seemed to have his hands on it, but unfortunately couldn't retain possession, so it's heading Maryville's way. Chris, I'm going to try and find the stats. I don't know if you have it on you, but there it is. 5 offensive rebounds for the Lions, just 1 for the Scots. I mean, these second chance points have got to be one of the biggest reasons why the Lions are able to jump out to this lead.
Yeah, definitely. 5 second chance points for Piedmont to 2 for Maryville, and 5 offensive rebounds to 1 for Maryville. That's a big difference. It's not a difference that you want to see here in the game of basketball, and that just explains why Piedmont is leading the way they're leading and playing the way that they are playing right now.
We know how aggressive the Lions are on the rebounding category, and we get the statistical breakdown as new player for the Scots able to get a steal. Unfortunately, his layup does go deep. That's Jalen Green for the Scots. Rice now going to stretch the floor. Not to be. Rebound Lions. Reardon looking to push tempo. Gives it off to Darden, wide open from the arc, and gets stolen by Reed. Reed now on a 2-on-1. Jolly trying to shut it down, make it a 3-on-1 here. And Gardner able to lay it in, cutting off inside. And we're going to see a timeout for the Lions. Their lead has dissipated down to just 1 point. Lions lead 22-21 on this timeout by head coach Greg Neely. Lions have a lot to talk about. They're going to need that full minute to figure it out. We're going to step away while they try and find some answers before coming back out here for the last 8 minutes of action. You're listening to Piedmont University Athletics on YouTube. Welcome back to men's basketball action inside of Cave Arena. Simon Johnstone here with Chris Donsorell and Reed Barnes on the camera. The Lions saw their lead go away as we stepped away for the break. Devin Dean able to get his rebound and is able to retain possession. And Chris, when we were waiting for this timeout to finish, you and I had an interesting conversation because we know that the Lions like to move the ball, but they still feel like an ISO team or isolation team. What do you think they need to work on here before the conclusion of the first half?
Just like you mentioned, just teamwork, getting back to what was working at the beginning of the game, moving the ball 4 or 5, maybe 6 times during the shot clock and getting a good shot. Before the break, obviously, Maryville came away with a lot of steals, and that's because of a lot of ISO basketball. A lot of want to dribble in front of your man and then make a move instead of just passing it open and passing and find the right shot.
And to your point, Chris, that's a great start there. Reardon was able to find Dean down low and was dumping in the layup. Speaking of the Lions, we have Dean, Hellenbrook, Lesh, Reardon, and Zach Exley in for the first time tonight. Shut down on the defensive end by Hellenbrook, and Zach's going to push the tempo here. Gives it off to Hellenbrook. Going to go from beyond the arc again, and a little short, if you will, but Zach able to see the save. Takes it away, and easy lay in for Zach Exley. Gets on the board early for the Lions. Green on the other side now for the Scots. Gives it off to Rice, excuse me. And looks like the Lions are breaking out a 2-1-2 zone on the defensive end. A zone you don't see too often for Piedmont, and yet it has been used very effectively to generate turnovers, Chris.
Yeah, and I love when they drop into that zone. Honestly, being here and, seeing Piedmont do that a lot, last season, early this season as well, before going to more of a man-to-man type of ordeal, they create a lot of turnovers because of the pressure that they play up top with the wings, and having that big in the middle creates, it doesn't create a lane for the other team to try to get to the basket.
Another unique possession for the Lions. Able to retain possession after Dean was fighting for possession. Hellenbrook as well. Either way, though, the Lions do have an inbound underneath the basket. A couple new faces in for the Scots. Rice is going to sit down, as well as Green and Gardner. And in for them, you have Kemp, Simmons, Russell, Morgan, I believe, as well as Patterson. A little 1-2 action for the Lions, not to be on the shot clock. Scots did get it before the buzzer sounds, so they're going to bring it the other way here. Morgan spin move on Hellenbrook, and that's a crafty way to grab a couple points there for the Scots, who have now tied up the ball game with just 5:30 left. 26-26 is your score here in Cave Arena. Dean now on the corner of the wing gives it off to Lesh, and almost a story of two halves is Kemp able to not only he grabbed the ball from a low-efforted Noah Reardon, who thought the ball was going to roll out of bounds. Kemp grabs that, hits the three-pointer, and now the Scots find themselves in the lead for the first time since 2-0 Maryville.
Yeah, and that's not what you want to see, especially from your point guard. You don't want to see him leave the ball like that. Whether it was going out of bounds or not, you still want to, see hustle from your guard.
For any NBA fans out there, kind of reminded me of James Harden back in his Brooklyn days when he watched that one. And the Pistons were able to get a free layup there. Three-pointer, though, by Zach Exley is going to be good, and we're all squared up here, 29 apiece. Hellenbrook, no free baskets is his motto down low. He's going to take down Chase Morgan there for a shooting foul. So Chase Morgan get ahead to the line for Maryville. Trying to see if I can get a number on his free throw percentage super quickly. Chase Morgan is the man at the line. Currently at the free throw line, he's shooting roughly 71%. It's very formidable to be around that percentage, especially as a big. Usually means you can't deal with a hack-a-shack situation, so it's good to have him out there. And if he does get fouled on a layup, you can expect him to make most of his free throws. Steps up here with the game tied, 29 apiece. He's going to break that tie as Chase Morgan knocks down the first one. Pair of lines come in for Hellenbrook and Reardon, and that's going to be Neville and Jolly for Piedmont. Second free throw just short. Dean with the rebound. He's looking to push the tempo here. By himself, picked up by almost 4 Scots, and he is unfortunately going to step out of bounds before the pass was to be released by Griffin Neville. Lesh stepping up to press. Didn't seem like the rest of the lines were in the same mindset. Communication has faltered a little bit for the Lions here in the later half of this first half of action. Corner three by Kemp, just short, a little too low of an arc there, but Scots do get an offensive board. Russell in the other corner, gonna try his luck, and there it is. Three-pointer for the Scots, and they jump ahead to a 4-point lead, 33-29 with 4 minutes to go. Jolly picked up by Kemp up high on the half-court set. Dean gonna give him some space with a screen. Jolly picked up by 2, does a handoff to Dean. Dean now down low, picked up by Morgan. Exley dropping the shoulder, tried to get inside, but Kemp saw the pass to Jolly and able to pick it away. Russell on the wing, going to dump it inside to Simmons, and Simmons lays it on in, and Maryville has jumped ahead to an incredible run here to close out the first half. Lions have a lot of questions to answer with another timeout called by Greg Neely. We're going to step away alongside them, hoping that they can figure something out with the last 3 minutes and change of action before they head into the locker room for halftime. You're listening to Piedmont University Athletics on YouTube. Welcome back to Piedmont University Athletics on YouTube. Simon and Chris alongside Reed Barnes on the camera. Lions have had a tale of two halves, if you will, so far in this first half of action, and Griffin Neville not able to change the tide just yet. The Lions had started off with a good lead against the CCS leading Maryville Scots, but since then, turnovers and missed shots have gone awry, and all of a sudden, Maryville has jumped ahead to a 6-point lead. Missed three-pointer to extend it to 8 from Simmons, no good. Lions coming the other way. Actually tried to do a hop step, and that's going to be a travel called on the sophomore. But Maryville has just absolutely turned on the heat. They started to show immediately after that first timeout called by Greg Neely why they are leading the CCS with a 6-1 record in conference play, and that's because they had a 14-3 run in about 3 minutes of action. That is very scary. That's giving up basically 11 points of a net difference. And when you're a team that cannot deal with being down going into the locker room any more than you already have been this season, the Lions need to figure out something with just under 3 minutes to play in the first. The Lions are going to continue that 2-1-2 zone patented by head coach Greg Neely. Morgan, though, on the opposite side block is going to find an easy pass from Russell, who's going to lay it on in and extend the lead to 8 for the Scots. Kemp picking up Jolly in the backcourt here. Jolly able to get it across the half-court line. Jolly still with it, giving it off to Neville in the corner, swings it over to Lesh. Lesh inside on Patterson. Pump fake, able to get him up in the air, and Jolly with a cut, able to float it on in over Kemp. Good floater by Jolly, and Chris, I'm not exactly sure how many points Jolly has, but it seems that this first half, although he's been doing a great job of facilitating, he hasn't shot as much as we're used to seeing from Ryan Jolly.
Yeah, to this point, you're used to seeing Ryan Jolly take about, 8, maybe 9 shots right now at this mark of the first half. But he's honestly shooting 2 of 4 right now with 5 points. Well, 2 of 5 right now with 5 points. 0-1 from 3 with 4 rebounds and 3 assists. So you kind of think, is it time for Ryan Jolly to, take over the game in the way that only Ryan Jolly can take over?
You're absolutely right. Ryan Jolly's so good at facilitating. We're going to see a blocking foul called against Caleb Lesh. The entirety of the Piedmont bench thought that he was set and drew the charge, but unfortunately Chase Morgan's going to head back to the line for the second time tonight. And to your point, Chris, you're absolutely right. It may be time to go back to what was working earlier in the season with Ryan Jolly spearheading the offense and dumping it off to his teammates when open. Although he's done a fantastic job facilitating, and at the start of the first half, the Lions were filling the roles at a fantastic clip. Shooting has seemed to fall off a bit. Griffin Neville, though, is going to have one rattle around the rim and not fall. And shooting woes continue for the Lions. Kemp going to bring it across the half-court line, and we're going to see a timeout called by the Scots. 1:48 of action left for the Lions. They trail by 8. 39-31 is your score in favor of Maryville. We're going to step away for this quick break. When we come back, the conclusion of the first half. You're listening to Piedmont University Athletics on YouTube.
Oh,
Welcome back inside Cave Arena. Simon Johnstone along with Chris Duncero and Reed Barnes on the camera. Lions trailing by 8 with just under 2 minutes of action left to play, of trying to figure out a way to close the gap before the end of the first half. Scots, though, looking to extend the lead. Simmons going to try to do that on a reverse layup by Hellenbrook, but Simmons does draw the foul after missing the layup. Saw a little bit of contact on the arm, and Simmons going to head to the line for Maryville. Maryville have been to the line a lot more than the Lions here, and part of that is the physical defense that we know Piedmont brings to the table in each and every matchup, but it also feels like the Lions are settling a lot, Chris, from beyond the arc to looking for mid-range looks instead of getting inside where the points are more plentiful.
Yeah, and Piedmont has shot 6 of 14 from three-point range, while Maryville shot 5 of 12. So you kind of think maybe they are settling maybe a little too much and haven't actually got into the paint to try to create those fouls that we're used to seeing from Piedmont.
Devin Dean and Jolly, usually the two that go to the line the most for the Lions, but we've only seen Jolly at the line once and Devin Dean not yet. So it'll be interesting to see if that philosophy changes heading into the halftime break. But before the conclusion, the Lions still need to figure out some answers here in the first half. They trail by 9, 40-31. Jolly's got it on the top of the key. Screen set by Carter Johnson, dumps it off to JCJ, who's got a quick layup. Rattles in and out, and just like many of their shots, so close, but unfortunately no cigar. Lions scoreless once again on an offensive possession. Rice has it now, picked up by Reardon. Screen set by Simmons. Thought about a three, didn't pull the trigger. Kemp now on Jolly. Trying to get the corner on Jolly, wasn't letting him, but eventually able to turn the corner on Jolly. Hellenbrook not there quick enough for the help side, and Maryville have jumped to an 11-point lead on the Lions. Looks like the Lions are trying to set up for the entirety of the shot clock. They thought about a 2-for-1, but didn't pull the trigger. So now they're going to look to whittle down the shot clock as much as possible. And the game clock just separated by about 8 seconds. Jolly going to stretch the floor with a three-pointer. Little left there. Carter Johnson on the offensive board does get it. Goes up for the shot. I believe it's going to be a shooting foul for Jeremiah Carter Johnson, who has grabbed yet another offensive board. Him and Devin Dean on the offensive end have done a fantastic job keeping offensive possessions alive, Chris.
Yeah, and Piedmont, as we mentioned earlier, was up, 5-2 in the offensive rebound game. So now it's 7-3 with the help of Jeremiah Carter Johnson and Devin Dean. Ryan Jolly getting in on the rebound mix, actually leading the team with 6 boards so far in the game.
And Jolly, an underrated rebounder for this Piedmont brigade. He does grab the boards. He does fill up the stats. It's very similar to a Russell Westbrook type of player. He gets the job done in a lot of different categories. Carter Johnson's first and second free throw are going to drop in, so the lead does drop back down to single digits, 42-33 with 15 seconds left in the game. Russell now going to give it off to Garner. Jolly nearly with the steal. Instead, Kemp's going to take the three-pointer. Short there. Darden's got 8 seconds left on the other end. Gives it to Carter Johnson, who's bringing it down, and there was a wide open Hellenbrook on the end, but unfortunately Russell was able to see the passing lane, shut it down, and we're going to have the conclusion of the half stay as it was after the first three-point attempt by Kemp. 42-33 is your score. Maryville leads heading into the locker room for the first half. Chris, it's been a very interesting first half for the Lions. They came out as you would expect them to in the second half. They're a team that, when coming out of the locker room, much like the olden days Warriors, they would come out with some sort of run and firepower that you don't really see with any other team. And then all of a sudden, after one timeout called, or media timeout, not exactly sure which one it was, the momentum died off, the shooting percentage died off, and all of a sudden the Scots were the team that were bringing the pressure, bringing the action, and able to knock down all of these chances.
Yeah, and you got to think maybe for a team like Piedmont, who usually starts off, slower in the game, maybe starting fast for them wasn't a good thing today. Obviously, you wanted to see it. You want to see them start off hot and stay hot throughout the game. But for this team, maybe starting off hot isn't the right MO for them. And you got to think for a team like Maryville, who's coming in on a 6-game win streak, maybe they weren't stressed enough, or they didn't feel pressure after Piedmont went on the little run that they had. And obviously, you see now they're up 9 at halftime. Maybe this is the MO that they wanted
Maryville seem to be getting their legs loose and able to get it going in the later end of the first half. Lions have a couple questions to answer coming out of the break. Is it going to be what type of offensive set are you running with Ryan Jolly spearheading the offense? Are you still trying to facilitate? Are you looking to generate down low with a Devin Dean or a Joe Hellenberg, or are you trying to stretch the floor with Noah Reardon and players like that? A lot of interesting situations that will have answers when we meet you back at the end of halftime, which will be in about 13 minutes. So stay tuned on Piedmont University Athletics. And for me, Chris and Reed, as of right now, you are listening to Piedmont University Athletics on YouTube. Welcome back to Piedmont University Athletics on YouTube. Simon Johnstone here with Chris Doncereau and our friend Reed Barnes on the camera. The Lions, as we mentioned before heading into the break, had quite the interesting first half. Started off super hot and then petered off to a Maryville Scots run that sent the Scots up 9 points heading into the halftime break. Lions going to need to mount a bit of a comeback here, but we have seen that many a times for the Lions in the past. So the Lions are going to look to start off early. Devin Dean with an immediate offensive board wasn't able to convert the second chance opportunity. And Scots now are coming the other way. Once there's a small break in the action, we'll get you the starting five. How about right now for Maryville? Rice is out there with Gardner, as well as Kemp, Morgan, and Smith. And for your Lions, you have Reardon, Dean picking up Morgan right now. Darden on the corner with Jolly and Hellenbrook. Morgan's layup a little too heavy, no good. Rebound Hellenbrook. Piedmont going to head the other way. Reardon with a quick rip, going to go up high with the layup. A little too much height there. Layup a little bit long. Garner coming back the other way. Slow start for both teams, missing their first couple field goal attempts. Kemp, though, going to hit the three-pointer and shows up 3 fingers in front of Ryan Jolly, talking a bit of trash as Maryville jumps ahead, up 12 points. Chris, before we stepped away, we talked about a couple of keys that we need to see the Lions execute here in the second half. Can you tell me which one you're looking most forward to? Yeah,
I'm definitely looking forward to Piedmont coming out this half a little bit aggressive and playing team basketball. Maybe not necessarily going to the Ryan Jolly method and just have him spearhead down the floor every time, try to create a bucket for himself and for others, but maybe just more of a facilitating offense like we saw at the beginning of this game where everybody was getting involved, everybody was touching the basketball before a shot went up, and that is what works for Piedmont.
Yeah, 100% correct. And defensively, they've done a great job stifling a very good offense of the Maryville Scots. Lions can continue that defensive pressure there, but Kemp knocks down back-to-back threes and gives some eyes to Ryan Jolly. Seems to be getting a little personal there for Mr. Reed Kemp of Maryville. Jolly, cool and collected, hands it off to Reardon. Screen separated for Jolly, looks to open up the floor. Dean was going to dump it off to Hellenbrook, but Morgan saw the lane. Rice now on the layup, goes up and under and able to find the backboard and drops it in for the and one chance. Jolly convinced he was going up the left side, went for the block attempt, and Rice played right into that and finished on the opposite side. Maryville going up for their 8th free throw attempt. Another thing we talked about was it felt like there weren't a lot of free throw opportunities for Piedmont, but interestingly enough, there's only a 2 free throw difference between the two squads. It was just a lot more and one conversions like that one there by Rice. So Maryville went to the line more often, but in terms of free throw attempts, it was a little closer than we expected. Maryville up by 16. Lions only that first bucket to end off or come out of the break. So a little bit of a slow start offensively for the Lions. Jolly still with it, going to swing it out to Darden, and offensive foul called. Jolly moving screen there, didn't allow Kemp to get to Fisher Darden. Smith can inbound it into Rice. And Piedmont going back to their coveted 2-1-2 zone where they do a lot of traps and 2-man pinches and presses. It generates a lot of turnovers when done effectively, but it does open up shots like that on the wing for 3-pointers. Kemp's three-point attempt going to go awry. He's going to get it right back though in the corner and knocks down the 3-pointer on Hellenbrook. And not only that, but Hellenbrook hit him on the way up. So 4-point play chance here for Reed Kemp, who has absolutely lit up the scoreboard coming out of the break. Reed Kemp with that 3-pointer is, I believe, at 17 points in the game, leading the game entirely, and 10 more than Piedmont's leading scorer, Ryan Jolly, with just 7. Reed's conversion good, 4-point play completed, and Reed now up to 21 points, Live stats are not yet updated, so Reed leading the game with 21 points of his very own, an impressive stat so early into the second half. Jolly going to draw the foul on Rice, who's now going to head to the line. And we finally get to breathe for a second. It's been a lot of high-paced action and a lot of that going in the favor of Maryville, where they went into the break up 9, now lead by 20, Chris. Not the start you're hoping for Piedmont.
Yeah, no, not at all. And you got a guy like Reed Kemp coming out here who came into the game shooting around 38, 39% from 3-point range, and right now shooting well above 50%. So you got to kind of think maybe a guy like Reed Kemp had to come into this type of environment. And obviously you see him talking a little bit of trash to Ryan Jolly. Maybe the two were a little jarring, before the game. And Kemp said, hey, I'm going to step up for you guys tonight. Told his team that, and he's done just that, leading them with 21 points.
21 points to his name. He's been the just spark plug that the Scots needed when their offense was running a little dry. If you're a little confused at what just happened, Jolly's first free throw attempt missed, and the entirety of the players on the court, were all convinced it was a one-on-one opportunity, but Ryan Jolly did get 2 free throws. He does knock down the second, so the lead drops to 19. Kemp nearly went for the heat check. Was able to talk himself out of it, though Kemp does now have it in the corner, picked up by Dean. Morgan down low with Jolly and Hellenbrook reaches over the top of Chase Morgan and shuts him down. Hellenbrook, such a lengthy defender, can find blocks in the most precarious situations, once again showing his versatility on the defensive end. Kemp going to get it in the corner, his name being called often here for Maryville, but Gardner this time on the wing is going to hit the 3. And Maryville cannot miss from beyond the arc. Like we said earlier in the day, Cave Arena is known for fostering some pretty impressive three-point percentages. Tonight, at least in the second half, it feels no different. Devin Dean looking like a bull in a china shop, able to draw the foul down low in the paint between both Kemp and Chase Morgan. Morgan going to be the one tagged with the foul, and Devin Dean's going to head to the line.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? I heard a stat earlier, before the game. I asked one of our SIDs what did he think was going to happen, and he specifically told me that if Maryville shoots over 35% this game from 3, it's going to be a long night for Piedmont. And right now, they are shooting a collectively 50%, 9 of 18 from three-point range right now.
And that's only a number we've really seen 1 or 2 other times inside of Cave Arena, though. Three-pointers have been the story of both the wins and losses for the Lions. When they took on, I believe it was Bob Jones, three-pointers were, or not Bob Jones, excuse me, it was, oh goodness, I can't remember. But anyway, there was a matchup earlier in the season where one of the teams knocked down 50% of their three-pointers in the entirety of the game. And that is what led to the demise of the Lions in their home court. Lions do have a lot of time, and Ryan Jolly tried to send a message with a deep three-pointer of his own. Rattled in and out, Darden, though, and a sea of red was able to get the rebound for the Lions. So another possession here for Piedmont. Devin Dean going to get the lane inside, looks to lay it in, and Jolly tips it in, but they're going to call, I believe, an offensive basket interference?
Yeah, it was definitely offensive interference there by Ryan Jolly. Maybe it looked like it was to me from this angle up here. I didn't think it was, but maybe the ball was still right on the rim when he tipped it in.
Yeah, with the ball coming at our side of the commentating section, if you will, it's tough to tell whether or not it was past the cylindrical area of the hoop. Regardless, though, the Lions do have a 22-point deficit to face. Greg Neely, head coach of the Lions, having to figure something out with his 5 men going back out there on the court. And for the Scots, well, it's not time to put it on cruise control just yet, but they came out on fire here in the second half. We thought that the Lions would be doing what Maryville's done, and that's just absolutely turn up the heat. They've dropped 16 points already in just 4 minutes of play. It's an incredible start to their second half, and they're starting to really prove why they're the leaders in the CCS. We're not going to step away for this media break as the players are looking to head onto the court right now. You got Piedmont Cheer in the far left corner, getting the student section a little bit excited here, trying to rally the Lions back into this one. Not many games left for the Lions as well. After the conclusion of this game, they head into February with just 6 games on the docket before they kick off their CCS tournament. All of them are conference matchups. And additionally, with their conference standing, it'll be interesting to see where they can move up and down. It is a fairly tight conference standing, so they do have a chance to hop, skip, and jump a couple of rankings up, but it'll be dependent on how they do in the month of February. There are 2 more games at home. We'll get into that later, but right now we got to focus on the Lions trying to mount an impressive 20-plus point comeback against the Maryville Scots. For the Scots, Gardner out there with Simmons, Kemp, Morgan, as well as Rice. And for the Lions, Helen Brook, who is picking up Simmons there, alongside Jolly, Reardon, Darden, and Dean. Rice down low, swings it on the baseline to Simmons, who goes for a high floater, but rebounded by Morgan, and able, after a couple of misses and jostles with a couple lines, he's able to find the basket and lay it in for 2. Jolly's going to bring it the other way over to Darden. Helen Brook now finds Reardon. Reardon going to look inside to Dean. Incredible jumping catch by Dean, and able to draw the foul down low against Simmons. Almost appeared to be an alley-oop attempt there, Chris. Not sure if that's something they drew up, but we know Dean's verticality. There was an opportunity there for a highlight.
Yeah, maybe, and I think Devin Dean was anticipating it, but I think he was just a little bit too far when he caught it. Maybe we would have saw a nice alley-oop finish there by Devin Dean.
And Devin Dean does head to the line. Not the most formidable free throw shooter. He's under 50% on the season, and we're going to have a minute stoppage of play here as a mini basketball does roll out from the crowd. Dean potentially giving himself time to recalibrate here for the second free throw. Does find nothing but net. So able to go 1 for 2. A tradition that Dean has found himself in for the majority of this season. Maryville now going to come the other way. Rice has it, going to give it off to Gardner on the wing, picked up by Jolly. Switch there, Jolly now picks up Rice. Patterson on the wing is going to go up against Darden. Patterson still inside, and an interesting contest that happens to fall right back into the hands of Patterson, and Patterson lays it in with no one on him down low. The interior defense, Chris, just seems to be crumbling, if you will, for the Lions. They need to figure out how to reassert themselves down low.
Yeah, definitely, and it's been a tough going for Piedmont in the paint area on defense, and Maryville having their way down there, especially with, a guy like R.J. Simmons and even Chase Morgan, so I think you just got to see Piedmont stand their ground a little bit more and have faith that they can play the brand of basketball that Maryville is playing right now.
And we talked about interior presence, and Keith Williams is now checked in for Maryville, so the definition of interior presence there. Chris, I believe we talked about his height and weight a little bit earlier. It's around 6'9", 260.
Yeah, he's definitely 6'9", 260 pounds.
That is quite the frame for a player like the Lions to go up against, and it'll be interesting to see with Helen Brook, kind of the polar opposite build, more of a agile stretch big, if you will, for the Lions, as Helen Brook trying to showcase that range there, able to pump fake and get Williams in the air. Reardon now with it on the wing, gets inside, floater up and over Williams, no good. Williams with the board, and here comes Maryville on a 2-on-2 chance. Patterson goes up into Lesh. Lesh had his arm out looking for the block. Patterson swung it up right into the extended arm of Lesh, and Patterson going to head to the line for Maryville. Out there also for the Scots is Russell, who checked in a little bit earlier, and on the verge of checking is Jeremiah Carter-Johnson for the Lions. Likely the answer to Keith Williams, who is such a presence as we talked about down low. First free throw, no good for Patterson. So the lead still stands at 25 points, 62-37 with 14 minutes left of play is where the Lions are currently sitting. Second free throw for the lefty is up and in. 1 of 2 from the line for the Scots. Their lead continues to rise. Jolly picked up by Gardner now as he crosses the midcourt. Screen set by JCJ. And there was an attempted dump-off pass back to Carter-Johnson, but behind him the ball was. Simmons with a good step through there between Helen Brook and Reardon, and able to find the layup once again. And the Maryville Scots have just hit the epitome of efficiency and devastation in this second half of action here inside of Cave Arena. They've only allowed 4 points to the Lions and have scored over 20 themselves, so it's been an incredible second half start for the Scots. And for the Lions, there are a lot of things to figure out, and there is still time for something to happen. And we know how quick points can go up in a hurry for these Lions, but it's got to start happening soon with 13:30 left to play. Helen Brook's going to check on out for the Lions in as Zach Exley going a little bit smaller besides Carter Johnson. 4 guards set up for the Lions, potentially looking to switch the momentum, looking for a little bit more quickness, generate some more turnovers. Russell now on the wing for the Scots. And back in is Kemp. We know how hot he was coming out of the second half, or first half, excuse me, and after taking a break, we'll see if that continues. Patterson went for a step back, and the ref's going to call a push-off for an offensive foul on Maryville. Finally a stop, Chris.
Yeah, and hopefully that's, the start of something new for Piedmont. As honestly, looking here at the stats, they're getting outscored 36-8 over the last 12 minutes, dating back, timing back to the first half as well. And
it might not be in his own arena, but that is definitely a highlight for Simmons. Rejected Reardon's layup there with some actual emphasis, and Kemp on the other end is able to slither through the Lions interior and lays it on the right side of the glass. Lead has grown to 30 in favor of the Maryville Scots, who continue to put a chokehold on the Lions in their own arena. Carter Johnson on the wing hands it off to Jolly on the other side. And after a brief encounter with Keith Williams, there's going to be a foul called against Reed Kemp. 5th foul on Maryville, so bonus is starting to enter the thoughts and minds of Piedmont, maybe upping the pressure a little bit, can generate some chances at the free throw line. Right now, an inbound play from on the baseline. Caleb Lesh did go for a layup, but rejected by that 6'9" gargantuan Keith Williams. Still Piedmont ball. They have a chance to inbound it here, get some quick points. Reardon sends it out to Jolly. Jolly gets inside, dumps it off to Carter Johnson. Power dribble goes up and rejected once again by Williams. Exley, though, inside the force of Giants, was able to hold on to the ball. Kicks it out to Jolly, whose three-pointer is no good, and here come Maryville the other way. Russell getting hounded by Carter Johnson, going to take it on back to make it a half-court set. Russell letting Maryville set up. They have no pressure to get a shot up early. In fact, they want to try and work down the clock as much as possible. They're in time management mode. Caleb Lesh, though, is going to look to pull the trigger early, and there it is. 3 points for Caleb Lesh. One of the better three-point shooters on the Lions team, and boy, howdy did we need it here. Lions able to knock down a tray ball. Just their first one of the half. Little slow start from beyond the arc. They're a team that can get them in bunches, so keep an eye out for that. Three-pointer on the other end by Smith, no good. Exley was the man closing him out. And there's Exley with the lead pass over to Lesh. Lesh getting hounded by multiple Scots. Exley able to hang on to the ball, give it out to Reardon, who gets it back. From beyond the arc is Exley, no good. A little deep there, and once again, just too much power from the Lions, not able to find any sort of consistency from shooting. Reed on Jolly, the matchup we've been looking at the majority of this game. Now it's Russell with Reardon. Smith got it at the top. Over to Patterson on the wing, who asks for a screen. Patterson going to try his luck from 3, no good, but Smith got the offensive board. No one there to hold on to him. And absolutely overcooked the meal on that one. Send it way over the rim. And quick board by Reardon, who looked to push the tempo, but Smith quickly makes up for the missed layup with a rejection on the other end. And Chris, this is what it's felt like. The Lions do something good with a Maryville mistake or a Maryville error, or even just a Maryville miss, and then you get all the way down. You feel like the momentum's starting to pull the way of Piedmont. And next thing you know, Maryville does something like an incredible rejection, generates a turnover, something where all the momentum immediately dies down for the Lions.
Yeah, and it is definitely tough for Piedmont, to have to go through this, especially at home in front of your fans, a place where you're supposed to defend home court. Everybody says that, and that's supposed to be the thing to do, especially in basketball, any sport, rather. And Maryville has just come out here, and they've been dominant. They've been the bigger team. They've been the better team. They've been the more consistent team here in this game. And for Piedmont, that's not what you want to see, and it's not what you want it to happen, especially losing to these guys by only 2 points at Maryville. And then you come here right now in front of your home fan, and you're down 27.
Yeah, and you go into the halftime, you go into the locker room, and obviously we don't know exactly what head coach Greg Neely said to his Lions brigade, but you would think, we're a second half team, we can come out hot. You're only down 9 to the number 1 team in the CCS, so you have to start to think that it's time for the tide to turn. And then you walk out there And in about 10 minutes of action, you've scored 7 points. And on the other end, they've scored 24. It's been a brutal tale of two halves, and the Lions are really needing to start to figure out what to do. I feel like defensively they've done the job. They're doing well, and I think Scots are just shooting well. I think they've presented themselves enough defensively, but ultimately there needs to be more on the offensive end for them to have a chance. Lesh tried to continue his shooting form in the corner, but unfortunately a little too short there, and that's going to be another 3-point miss for the Lions. Rice back in the game for the Scots, as well as Green, who has it now. Rice going to go down low to Smith. Smith on Neville here. And back out to Rice, who draws the foul on Exley. This gives us a chance to update you with the lineups for the Scots. You have Reed Kemp, Jalen Green, Smith alongside Chase Morgan, and Rice, who is heading to the line for Maryville. And for Piedmont, Ryan Jolly, Jeremiah Carter-Johnson, Griffin Neville, Zach Exley, and at the midcourt line is Caleb Lesh. Rice's first free throw attempt short, but able to find the bottom of the hoop. First free throw good. Lead increases to 28 in favor of Maryville. Second free throw here. Bottoms, and there it is. 2 for 2 once again for Maryville. They haven't left many points from the free throw line. They are 7 of 12 on the game, shooting a very good percentage as a team collectively. Neville now in the corner, going to bring it up to the wing. He's looking inside to Carter-Johnson, instead swings it to the top of the key to Lesh. Carter-Johnson now with it, hands it off to Neville. Neville, three-point attempt, goes up. No call there, and Carter-Johnson with enough space tries to pull the trigger from beyond the arc. Three-point attempt no good, though. Zach Exley able to slip behind, much like Jose Alvarado on the Pelicans, able to steal that one away without the players knowing it with a smart spin move by Jolly. Lions able to grab a couple points there.
Yeah, and maybe that shot by Neville was a bit not a, it was supposed to be a call there. I kind of heard the slaps way up here. Maybe the ref swallowed his whistle sometimes. You never know.
I wouldn't be the first one to say it, but I'll 100% agree with you. There definitely was some contact there. Regardless, though, Lions able to get another stop on Maryville. Jolly pulls it out to slow down the tempo here. Green is the one picking him up for Maryville. And after going into multiple Scots defenders, Jolly able to draw the foul. And just like that, team foul number 6 on Maryville. So both teams just one foul away from entering the bonus. So that'll be interesting to see how the aggressiveness peters here on out for the rest of the game. 2 new players in for the Scots. I believe that is Gardner and Simmons checking back in for Maryville. Exley inbound, short corner to Jolly. He's going to take a mid-range and knocks it down. Jolly might look to feel a little bit more aggressive in the shooting category here, as 9-minute mark has just passed for second half play. Piedmont trails by 25 points, 69-44 is your score here inside of Cave Arena. Reed thought about the shot, able to dump it off to Chase Morgan, who goes up and under and nearly completed a very smart and crafty play. Carter-Johnson able to give it off to Ryan Jolly, who not exactly sure if we saw someone on the bench he was thinking about, but he had both Neville and Hellenbrook and decided to split the middle, so a turnover there and a rare turnover, almost a lapse of concentration by Ryan Jolly. Back the other way is Jalen Green and Maryville. Griffin Neville switches with Zach Exley. And now it's Chase Morgan who gives it off to Reed. Jolly and Reed continuing to go head-to-head. Calls off the switch, and Simmons now swings it over to Gardner. Steps back for the 3. Thought about it, didn't pull the trigger. And Simmons, with a little physicality, able to find the hands of Gardner, who pulls an open three-pointer, no good. And after Exley had full possession of the ball, Simmons, with I guess almost a vent of frustration, took it out on the ball in the hands of Zach Exley. And just like that, we have entered the bonus for the Lions. This could be their avenue to start chipping away, because there are 2 benefits. Number 1, you start to concern yourself with foul trouble with different individual players for Maryville. And the second reason is the clock stops after every single foul, so you get your chance to build up the score, get some more points for your team without the clock running down, and that is so crucial with just 8 minutes of action left. Free throw was no good, but offensive rebound by Griffin Neville continues the Piedmont possession, and there seems to be a stoppage here for the Lions. I think a miscommunication with the shot clock, if I'm not mistaken. So Lions will be content to take it out, retaining possession here. Neville finds Jolly. Thought about pulling the trigger early, didn't, in fact. Garner picked up Jolly. Neville now swings past Simmons, doesn't shoot. Exley atop of the free throw line, goes right at Reed and able to use his physicality and size to get the layup up and over and finds the bucket for the lay-in. Maryville slows down the tempo once again. 23 points is the gap. Exley on Jalen Green here. Jalen Green continuing with the ball, finds Garner from beyond the arc. Gardner loves to go to that spot, and once again, his three-point attempt is short. Exley looking to push the tempo with the lines. Beautiful behind the back and able to dump it off to Ryan Jolly down low. How about that for a highlight play for the sophomore, Zach Exley? And great cut by Ryan Jolly. Lead falls to 21 points. This is the momentum we've been talking about. Just 7 minutes of play left. Is there enough time to start mounting the comeback? We will see. Foul on the ground is going to be called on Ryan Jolly. Let's go Piedmont chants reverberating inside of Cave Arena. We are going to have a media timeout. And Chris, just before we step away, it's finally starting to feel like Piedmont's back into this game, even though the scoreboard might not show that.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, you want the home crowd to get into the game. And honestly, that student section over there, they're doing a really good job of trying to keep the crowd in and trying to keep the crowd engaged, even with Piedmont being down 21. And obviously, you know, the play right there by Zach Exley, you'd love to see that from one of your role players. You'd love to see a guy like that continue to get more minutes in the game and continue to make a bigger impact other than, you know, the name brand guys like Ryan Jolly, Noah Reeder, Devin Dean, Joe Hellenbrook, and even Fisher Darden. So, you know, a guy like that, keeping the energy up for the team, trying to mount a comeback.
The lead is 21 points. We will stay here as I believe the media timeout is coming to a close. The Lions bench stands up here to break it down. And the Lions are starting to do what they need to do defensively. They're finally closing out possessions. No more offensive boards are finding the hands of the Maryville Scots. And on the other end, the Lions are getting active off the ball. They're screening for each other, cutting back door, and able to find a couple of free points. Ryan Jolly has been subbed out here for the Lions to start, or the five out there in the white for Piedmont is Noah Reardon, the senior, Zach Exley, Jeremiah Carter-Johnson, Caleb Lesh, and our first sight of our good friend. Oh, actually, never mind. Griffin Neville. I completely confused Caleb Lesh's number and then went back to him. So Neville and Lesh are the other two Piedmont players. Reed able to knock down both free throws to increase the lead back up to 23 points. Reardon staring at a 3-2 zone, something you rarely see in terms of a defensive formation. Exley finds Neville. Pump fake does get Williams to bite and picks up a double team here. Couple of smart layoff passes, and all of a sudden Jeremiah Carter-Johnson had a huge mismatch down low and able to convert the layup. Rice now going to bring the ball up for Piedmont, who swings it on out to Reed. Kemp. Darrell Rice now with the ball. Noah Reardon gets crossed up with the screen, but able to find Rice once again. Inside is Garner through a couple of tough hands, and the missed layup is no good, and we're going to see a call in favor of Maryville. I believe the referee saw a deflection off of Griffin Neville, so Maryville will retain the possession with just 4 seconds left on the shot clock. Another substitution for Piedmont as well. Fisher Darden checks back in for Griffin Neville. And a quick handoff and almost an alley-oop, if you will, in the hands of Gardner. Was able to get a couple points there for Maryville. 3-2 zone still the case for Maryville. Couple of passes back and forth between Reardon and Darden, not going to generate a shot attempt. Back to Darden in the corner down low. Keith Williams is the one picking him up. Good cut inside by Exley, and Exley takes the contact and able to lay it in. Fantastic physicality there, and Exley has really come alive here, and he's been the spark that the Lions needed both on the offensive and defensive end, Chris.
Yeah, definitely, and you know, you want that from your role players. You want them to come in the game and, you know, not have an immediate impact, but definitely have an impact nonetheless, and Zach Exley is doing just that.
A little over-aggressive on the defensive end and an easy lay-in for Keith Williams for Maryville. Lions are getting the job done on the offensive end finally. It's just defensively they're starting to give up a couple free points, so all their chips away at the lead are ill-gotten at this point as Carter-Johnson baits a double team, a cut down low by Griffin Neville, Unfortunately, miscommunication there and turnover by Jeremiah Carter-Johnson. Noah Reardon now steps up the pressure a little bit on Darrell Rice. Keith Williams comes over for the screen. They stay with each other, and Simmons now gives it over to Reed Kemp. Kemp over to Williams. Williams looking down low to Simmons, finds him on the block. Simmons backing down 2 players now, and Williams wide open in the elbow. Just a little deep and no good for Williams. Piedmont have to push the tempo here, and Reardon tried to save it. Piedmont fans on the court completely disagree with that call, and it almost felt like a toe tap kind of play in the NFL with the Super Bowl coming up. But unfortunately, Noah Reardon was not having both feet inbound and keeping the ball in play as well. 2 substitutions in for Maryville. First appearance for, if I can get that name quickly, number 2, but also in for Maryville is Russell as well as Patterson. The other player back in, or new player in, is Kobe Franklin. First time he enters the game for Maryville. Devin Dean is going to check in for Jeremiah Carter-Johnson for Piedmont as well. Neville thought about a 3-pointer, and after a behind the back, happened to lose possession and turnover Piedmont. Chris, I don't know about you, but this game hasn't felt that messy overall. There's been just really unfortunate stretches of errors compounding upon each other.
Yeah, and, basketball is a game of runs. Everybody, says that. Everybody knows that. And, for Piedmont specifically.
I was about to jump in front of you, but Devin Dean nearly able to convert an incredible steal into fast break dunk, but unfortunately, while trying to get his hands on the rim to secure the landing, he well overthrew the attempt, if you will.
And that's just been the type of night it is for Piedmont,
That is the perfect summary. You are 100% right, Chris. It looks great. They do the right things, and then at the very end, there's some form of conversion that didn't happen. We're going to see another stoppage of play here. Not sure if it's media or coach's timeout. It's going to be a media timeout. I believe the under 4 minute is the designation. Piedmont trails by 23 points. It's not a lead you see not holding for very often. Typically, if you're up by 20 around this time, you can confidently write it off. Of course, we know Piedmont is a team of comebacks. We saw them do it earlier in the year against Birmingham Southern. Maryville, though, is looking like the team that has been in this position so many times before. They're very comfortable. They're looking to increase their CCS standings to a record of 7-1 in conference play. Piedmont, if they drop this game, would fall to 1-6. So the dream of hosting a first-round clash against any other CCS opponent is likely falling out of the window, as the best record they would be able to have would be 6-6. We're not there just yet to talk about the future for the Lions. Right now we got to focus on the now. Fisher Darden is going to pick up Franklin on the top of the wing. Down low is Chase Morgan, who kicks it out to Franklin from beyond the arc. No good. Chase Morgan, though, able to grab the board, and Russell wide open after a shaky pass, able to hold on. Russell still with it, gives it off to Patterson, who dumps it down to Morgan. Russell back inside, crafty handoff behind the back, if you will, and Simmons found the hoop just in time before the shot clock expires. Reardon now with it, gives it off to Exley. And back over, we're going to see a first appearance as well from Noah Hutchinson for Piedmont. Darden on the mid-range, looking to go for it, no good. Rebound, Simmons. Maryville comes the other way. Fast break chance for Patterson. Darden's on the other end. Went for the steal, not to be, and looks to be another stoppage. Full time out for Maryville, I believe. And the lead is now increased to 27 points. It may be time to look to the bench, give some players an opportunity to have a reason why they came today besides cheer on their teammates. And after heading into the break, only down 9, the Lions have gone from a team that have really felt like this was their game to lose, this was their game to win, to already looking ahead on the schedule. we will do that for you because looking ahead, they don't have much time to hang their heads if they happen to drop this game, as they will be traveling to Warren Wilson on the 1st of February. Then they'll face Covenant. They have an away trip, a tour, if you will, in their next 4 games are all away. That'll be in the order of Warren Wilson, Covenant, Huntington, and LaGrange. So they will not be back inside of Cave Arena until the 15th of February, where they will take on Covenant for the second time this season. They did take them on earlier this year, if I can find their score. Or they have not, excuse me. They're actually playing them twice in February, once at that travel, and then they will take them on the second time in about 2 weeks. So it's a quick turnaround. Those two will know each other very well, much like this matchup where they played each other twice. Of course, the first matchup also going the way of Maryville, but it's felt like it was a close contest. This one, on the other hand, has not felt that way. 27-point gap is what separates these two teams with just under 3 minutes to play. Almost an entirely new squad in for Piedmont. Exley going to take the three-pointer a little deep there, and rebound by Jesse Harbin. Hutchinson's got it now. He's going to give it off to Hampton Goff. And also in there for the Lions is Silas Mulligan. Hutchinson going to stretch the floor. Three-point attempt, no good. Exley gets down low once again for an offensive board, and after a cheeky pump fake, able to find the hoop. We're going to see another substitution here. Israel Hall as well is going to be checking in, nicknamed Izzy on the team. If he gets onto the open floor, make sure to keep this broadcast on because that man can fly. Maryville coach still upset. He's sending a message to his team telling them, hey, we do not rest on our laurels no matter what the score is, no matter who's on the floor. You stick to our beliefs, our metrics, and the reason we got here, what we do. Israel Hall is in for the game. Looks like he took out Zach Exley, so Exley's night is likely done with just 2 minutes left. And Chris, in my opinion, he was arguably the best player out there tonight for the Lions.
Yeah, definitely. Zach Exley came into the game early and made a very huge impact. Actually finished the game with 11 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 fouls, and 2 turnovers. I mean, that's not bad for a role player type of guy, especially in this type of environment.
Whole new brigade in for Maryville. If I can muster up the roster, I'll get you those names as quickly as possible. But a good layup there by Maryville. We got a couple names here. So we got Devin Mixon, number 12, and number 24, Nick Johnson, number 30, Hayden Treadwell, and number 5, Malachi Chip, and number 34, Ryan Reed. I've already got you the names of the Lions, and Harbin going to go into the chest of Devin Mixon, and Mixon was convinced that was a charge drawn, but referee did not see it that way, instead of blocking foul, and since we're in the bonus, Harbin is going to head to the line. A couple new faces in for Maryville as well. Number 32, Nathan Hoback, as well as number 23, Darius Martin. Harbin heading to the line here, trying to get his first points of the game on the board, and he knocks down the first one, so he's going to stay there for one more. Second free throw attempt hits the front side of the rim. It's all sides of the rim, but does in fact drop in eventually. So he's got 2 points to his name now, does Harbin. Mixon on the other end, swings it on over to Reed. Now with the ball is Hoback, who's taking on Mulligan. Mulligan still with him. Good defense there. Harbin now picking up Johnson. Johnson going to take the mid-range shot, and straight twine is that jumper. The entirety of the Maryville roster, Chris, just seems like they cannot miss tonight. And as you said, it seems to be a common theme here inside of Cave Arena.
Yeah, everybody loves to play here inside of Cave Arena except Piedmont. You know, I mean, lately, these home games that Piedmont's having has been, very, very bad. And this is just another one to put in the L column.
They're currently sitting at a 3-game losing skid inside of Cave Arena, and well, with this one under a minute to go, you will write it off as the 4-game losing skid for the Lions inside, and a 6th consecutive loss for the Lions. It was a tough opponent they took on today with the CCS leaders of Maryville. And while the first half looked convincing and promising that there was a chance that Piedmont was able to escape with a win, and a very, very much so a statement win, if you will, for Piedmont. Instead, Maryville were the team that came out of the first half firing and able to turn this game completely on its head. The lead has grown to 28 points, the largest of the game. And Lions are going to head to the line for a couple free throws with under 20 seconds remaining. So for the Lions, their record's now going to drop to 9-10. For Maryville, they'll increase to 15-5, 7-1 in play, 1-6 for Piedmont in conference play. And like we said, the Lions are now going to head on the road 4 straight games away from Cave Arena. Maybe it's what the Lions need to jump ahead, get some momentum heading into the conference tournament. Like you said, Chris, earlier in the broadcast, basketball is all about a game of runs. If this team gets hot at the right time, you know they are capable of doing some seriously impressive things. Even this year, they've already set the record for the most points scored in school history for one single game with 122. So it is possible they can make some more history in the postseason, but that's going to do it for tonight's matchup between the Scots and the Lions. Scots came in here, made it their own home court. They completely shut down the energetic Cave Arena that was getting loud for the majority of the matchup, and your final score tonight is 86 Maryville, 59 Lions. Maryville never really, without a doubt, came in here, especially in that second half, and showcased why they're that number one team, why they're gunning to host the entirety of the CCS tournament. Chris, this is tough to end your January like this, and with a month of February where 80% of your matches are going to be away, it's very interesting to see what this means for the Lions. The only bright spot I can find is that with the perspective that they're likely not going to be hosting any conference championship games in the postseason, it does give them a chance to get acclimated to playing away, playing against some home fans.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned that, and obviously that's the bright side that you look at with that situation. Obviously, you want to play in front of your fans, you want to have home court advantage. But when you look into that and being able to go on the road to play conference opponents on the road before the CCS tournament and not hosting a game in that CCS tournament, you think for Piedmont it's a bright side and something that they can build off before the CCS tournament. As you mentioned, a team like this can get hot really, really quick, and if Piedmont gets hot at the right time, the rest of the CCS is in for a real bad show.
Absolutely right. We do know what these Lions are capable with. They've showcased it earlier in the year, but unfortunately tonight just was not their night to right the ship just yet. Chris, if you don't have any other comments about the Lions, as we did just get handed their final stat sheet, we'll just give you some of the highlights quickly. Ryan Jolly led the team in scoring with 14 points. He also finished with 6 rebounds as well as 3 assists. Box score a little janky to my eyes right now. And on the other side, Reed Kemp, we talked about him at the beginning of the second half. 25 points, 5 3-pointers made. He also had 4 boards and 1 assist to his name, and he spearheaded a team that didn't spread the ball in terms of scoring all that much. Just 2 other players broke the double-digit column, with Jackson Gardner having 13 and R.J. Simmons with 15, and on the other end, just Jolly and Zach Exley. And to your point, like we talked about earlier, how about Zach Exley coming in here, not even in the second rotation, but able to still convert 11 points, grabbed 5 boards, 3 of them being offensive, and just really sparked the offense. And it was just unfortunate that he couldn't do that where the scoreboard, when he came in here, there was a chance to right the ship.
Yeah, and you look at that as a very big bright spot for Piedmont. A guy like Zach Exley, who doesn't get as much PT as probably he would like, but in a game like this, in an environment like this, in a CCS matchup like this, you see that guy come into the game and make a huge impact for your team. And maybe moving forward, maybe Zach Exley gets a lot more minutes and has a chance to impact the game a lot more.
The 2 biggest metrics I like to look at the conclusion of a game are the turnover battle and the rebounding battle, because usually if you win those, it's a pretty clear indicator of who won. Well, the turnover battle clearly went in the favor of Maryville. They only had 13 to Piedmont's 20 total turnovers, but rebounding, because of how many offensive boards they had, 18 offensive boards in total, they did in fact win the rebounding battle against Maryville. The only problem was Maryville shot so well from all aspects of the court, 50% from the the field, over 40% from three-pointer and 66% from the line. So they just did a fantastic job on all three levels of scoring. So that's where Piedmont really petered off, because on the other end, Piedmont really had some shooting woes. So they'll look to right the ship next time they travel, which will be the 1st of February, taking on Warren Wilson, the team they actually set their own school record for most points in a single game. They took that win with a margin of victory of 61 points, winning that 122-61. But for tonight, that is going to do it all for today's broadcast. It's unfortunate to end the night on a somber note, but sometimes that's the way basketball goes. We hope that they will be able to turn it around in the coming days. For Chris Doncereau, Reed Barnes on the camera, the great, wonderful team spearheaded by Daniel Percival. This is Simon Johnstone. You've been listening to Piedmont University Athletics on YouTube.